Warning. The following video presentation contains scenes of extreme deliciousness. Failure to either eat first or bring a snack to consume during the presentation could result in wanting to lick the screen or in some way act the fool. Ain't nobody want that. Viewer discretion is advised.
Hello, boys and ghouls. DK's making a snack today. What's it gonna be? What's it gonna be? DK's making a snack today. Shove it right into your mouth. DK's making a snack today. What's it gonna be? Is he making it for me? DK's making a snack today. It's time for tactical snacking with DK.
Hey everybody! How's it going? Welcome. Good to see everybody again. It's been a bit. I think it's been something like 12 days or something, I think, since the last time that I did a stream, which it hardly seems like it's been that long, but that appears to be the that appears to be the case. I'm watching the countdown for the loading screen and the text disappears off of it. That was something that I had been playing with and thought I had forgotten that the loading pops out as a huge font, and so I'm like, oh, okay, cool, I gotta fix that. I have not been idle during the this little break, I guess we'll call it, but it was a necessary one. Needed to get some stuff done around the house. Mrs. Weso had a procedure done last week, which she is recovering very nicely, and everything went beautifully. So huzzah! Yeah, it's been a bit of a time. You'll notice that the logo at the bottom of the screen has changed. And you probably may or may not have noticed that the transition also changed. Have a good one, AJ, and thank you, by the way, for that resub. Thank you so much for that. But yeah, I've been doing stuff behind the scenes, as I usually do. So, first and foremost, let's go through this real quick. AJ, thank you for the resub. Avocado Green KitchenAid, how's it going? Parkonen, Zodic, Maria is here, Ladenia, and I just so happen to be making this particular recipe on a day that she is not having to mod, so she can troll me and tell me that I'm doing an awful job. And it's all good. I'm looking forward to it. Hey, Scott2572, welcome, buddy. Yeah, Mrs. Weso had a procedure done last Wednesday. No big deal, but it was something that needed to happen to kind of help with some medical issues that she's been having. And everything went beautifully, everything went well. Hey, Accidental Chaos! And yeah, so she's doing great. Her CPAP machine that came in, what was that, a week and a half ago or whatever, has been a real game changer for her. Last night, she actually slept completely through the night without having to get up once, which hasn't happened in years. So things are good. Things are good. And yeah, we're back. And I've been, last night I'm sitting there and I'm like, okay, what am I gonna do tomorrow? And I've been thinking about some stuff, and I'm like, and it was like, you know what? I've been talking about making this recipe, and I've mentioned it on stream for a while now. And so the fact that I'm actually getting to it is just like, yes. So I'm going to completely and utterly murder the pronunciation of this. I apologize to the entirety of the Greek-speaking population, past, present, and future. Ladenia, or something to that effect. It is a dough that is used to make basically a Greek pizza, but it's also used to make bagels, which is kind of cool. There's a bunch of videos online for doing that, some better than others. One in particular that I saw used self-rising flour and chemical leavening agents as opposed to yeast. But no. We're going with yeast. That's the way that we need to do it. So that's the plan of action, is making that dough and bringing it all together and then baking it off. But the D sounds like a Spanish. Oh, so it's like a TH. So Ladenia. Ladenia. That would be about right. Fridge looks different. It's clean. It'll be cleaner. There we go. Okay, good to know. See, this is why, you know, I'm glad Maria's here for this, so she can, you know, roast me and troll me the whole time. But this whole thing came about as a conversation that we were having, and this isn't her specific recipe. This is a different one, but it's a dough that she's intimately familiar with and makes all the time, and has told me about, and has sounded amazing, and is something that, oh, awesome, thanks. Good to know. Thank you. But it sounded really good, and I've been meaning to do it, so we're doing it. We're making the dough. So, let's see, is there any other sort of housekeeping stuff that I wanted to talk about before getting started? I can't really think of anything. So Mrs. Hueso's schedule has changed a little bit, and so probably the streaming schedule is going to change a little bit also. Haven't really nailed down exactly when as of yet, but I'll keep everyone posted on the potential changes. It shouldn't be that big of a deal. Maybe a day shift, possibly even hours shift could be. But, oh, there we go. The bot spit out the recipe link, the one that I'm using today. This is a recipe that is off of a YouTube video. And so the funny thing about this particular recipe in the video is the very nice woman that makes this dough in the video uses a stand mixer. And I have been told that you don't need to use a stand mixer, and this is true. You can absolutely make it without a stand mixer. You do not need one. You can hand knead it, but I have a stand mixer, and I'm going to use my stand mixer. So that's our plan of action for that. So let's switch views real quick, and we will get started on this. If you want to pull up the recipe so you can kind of play along at home and see what we're working with, I've got my dough hook on my detailed KitchenAid after the exploding ice cream incident. We're all set and ready to go. I've got the metal work bowl here. So on the recipe, which I'm actually going to flip over to it real quick just to reference it, is the first thing that we got to do is the recipe calls for active dry yeast. This is important. We're not talking about instant yeast. We're talking about active dry yeast. If you're using instant yeast, you don't actually have to proof it all. But when you're making it with active dry yeast, especially if you're not sure if the yeast is good still, you're going to have to get it mixed up with water with a little bit of sugar in order to prove that it is actually still a viable yeast, because if not, then the dough won't leaven at all and it's no bueno. And I was screaming no mixer, traditional recipe. They didn't have mixers back then. Yes, exactly. And I, as I have said previously, I am not Greek. I do not have any Greek blood in me. I mean no offense. I make this out of love. So I apologize to the forefathers of Greek cuisine that did not have the stand mixer. But I am, however, benefiting from their technology, and so this is what we're doing. Okay, first things first. On the ingredient list, it's 2 cups of water lukewarms. And what I really need to do is update that to say specifically the temperature range that we want for this is between about 100 to 115 degrees Fahrenheit. I apologize for not knowing the Celsius conversion off the top of my head. The reason why we want the water that particular temperature range is because that is what's going to cause the yeast to wake up the most. And that's really kind of what we're looking for. So people, if you don't have a mixer, don't worry, you can make a great dough. This is true. This is very true. Got my 2-cup measuring cup here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to fill it with about half of it with hot water out of my the water cooler here, and then half of it with cold water, and then we're going to temp it just to see what it's at to make sure that we're kind of in the right range, and then we'll get going with everything else. Okay, so we're looking for lukewarm water. 107. Perfect. That is exactly what I wanted. This is the perfect temperature range for what we need to do. So I'm going to put that right into the mixing bowl first, because we want to let the yeast kind of wake up for about 10 minutes or so. Anywhere from 8 to 10 minutes, and then that way it'll start getting more active and forming the gas that we need. Okay, sugar-wise, we need a teaspoon. Because yeast, I mean, this is basic fermentation right here. Yeast eats sugar. The byproducts of yeast consuming sugar is things like CO2. Can be also alcohol, which then can turn into vinegar. But in this particular circumstance, it's not enough. There might be a little bit of alcohol, but the CO2 is really what we want from this. Okay. Next up, 1.5 teaspoons of active dry yeast, which I have mine with the date in the jar, and we usually keep it either in the usually in the freezer, because we're not necessarily using it all the time. But if you go through it pretty quickly, like if you're making bread or anything that requires yeast on a regular basis, keeping it in your fridge is perfectly fine. If you get like the little packets, use those. Whatever you got, use that. But like I said, active dry yeast is important. Make sure you double check the label for that, as opposed to using instant yeast, because that's kind of a slightly different beast. And then last but not least, for this, is a 1/4 cup of all-purpose flour. Normally, as I've said, many times, I'm not a big fan of the scoop and sweep method. I prefer weights to be more exact. In this particular circumstance, I'm not super concerned about exactness, because really it's just giving the yeast a little something to munch on. So alright, so that is all whisked up and ready to go. Now we're going to set a timer for this for about 10 minutes. Let's see. There we go. Okay, we got a 10-minute timer going. Now, in theory, what we should see is a big, frothy, whole bunch of bubbles and everything, because that's what's going to tell us that the yeast is really active. However, in my experience, that's not necessarily the case. Usually, if it doesn't get super foamy, it can mean that the yeast is a little bit older and maybe not quite as active. But this particular batch of yeast, I've used it not that long ago. If I remember correctly, I think we used it the last time for the hamburger buns, and it worked great. So it's been, in the freezer since then, so I don't foresee an issue with using it. So in the meantime, let's see, how long is the yeast good for? The yeast, it'll usually say on the package like a best before date. If you notice, like on the jar, we marked when. Okay, so this actually says, in theory, it expired almost a year ago, but it's been refrigerated or in the freezer the entire time, and that slows down the death rate, I guess. But like I said, I mean, we've been using this and it's worked just fine. So what it may end up meaning is that your proofing time may increase a bit, especially if the dough doesn't, if it doesn't rise very quickly. It could just mean that you need to let it rise a little bit longer. Or actually, what would be even more preferable is if you were to make this dough and then leave it in the fridge overnight and then pull it out the next day. The slower fermentation / gluten development time usually results in a better flavor. So, something to keep in mind. Okay. Now for the bulk of what we're doing, we need 615 grams of bread flour. The flour that I used previously was all-purpose, but for the bulk of the flour that we're using for this, we need bread flour, so we need something with a high protein content. On mine, I'm using King Arthur bread flour, and we're getting towards the bottom here, but I got another bag handy just in case. So let's 228, 333, 418, 478, 568. Okay, so I did need to open up this bag. 576, 599, 603, 579, 12, 13, 14, 15. There we go. Okay. Leave off to the side. Since I don't use the bread flour quite as often, we actually keep it in the back, but I'll just leave it here for the time being. Hail hydrate. Okay. Next up, we need salt, and that is a teaspoon and a half. Salt actually retards, I guess, is the best way to explain it. Retards the yeast activity, which is why you add it after it's had a chance to kind of do that to proof and everything. So that's a teaspoon and a half. That out of the way. In the meantime, I'm just whisking this stuff together so then it's aerated a little bit and the salt's thoroughly mixed in. Alright, so that is ready to go. The only other thing that we need for this at the moment is a 1/4 cup of olive oil that's going to go into it. So I've got a little 2-ounce measure here, so I'm going to go grab my my olive oil real quick. My favorite brand, the Totally brand olive oil, was on sale, so we got some Totally Greek olive oil. Just trying to avoid an international incident as much as possible. But we're going to leave the olive oil out for a minute because after the dough comes together, we're going to want to add a little bit of additional oil just over the top in order to keep it from drying out, and it also allow us to kind of form it into a little bit of a ball. So then that way, when we go to stash it to let it rise, that it'll be easier to work with. I do have my plastic wrap already set up, ready to go over here. So that is good to go. So we are now just waiting for this time to run out. We got another 2.5 minutes. I'm going to move this stuff. Move it a little bit. There we go, that's still good to go. I've just got a bowl scraper here that I'll be using in order to work the dough whenever we're ready to go. Okay, so for the toppings, very, very, very traditionally when making this, it's like the recipe says that I have posted on the Discord. It is tomatoes, red onions, tossed with olive oil, a little bit of oregano, salt and pepper. Pretty basic. However, you can throw on whatever you like. My plan is I'm gonna split this dough in half and do 2 smaller ones. One of which we will do in the traditional style of the tomato, red onion, olive oil, etc. And then the other one, I made some marinara sauce last night, and I have a bit of it left over, so I figured I'd smear that on top. And then I've got some pepperoni and I've got some mozzarella, and I'll do it kind of like what we think of as a pizza that way. And so that'll be what the second one ends up becoming. So we'll need to get all that stuff ready to go. You see, 40 seconds left? Alright, so I'm going to start grabbing stuff. Tomato, red onion. Already got my olive oil. Let's get small bowl. I'm resetting the timer for 10 minutes. Because this is going to end up going for 10 minutes on low speed. Okay. So that is ready. And so if you look, it doesn't appear to be all super foamy, right? It doesn't look like, you know, there's a ton of bubbles and everything on top. You can, however, see smaller bubbles in there, and so I'm going to treat this as if everything is good to go, and add our flour mixture, and we'll get it mixed up and ready to go. So. Okay. Flour's in. That's on. Mixer down. Locked. And I'm just turning it on the slowest speed, which is just stir. And as soon as that really kind of starts to come together, I'll add in the olive oil and we'll be good to go. And we'll let that go for 10 minutes. You can hear the change in the sound of the mixer, that it's starting to hit some resistance because it's starting to come together, so we'll add in the olive oil now. Okay. Let me get rid of this. Excellent. That's come together and that'll start kneading really, really nicely. Okay. Let's get this going. Alright, so I don't necessarily need a ton, I think, for this, but I am going to use some of the red onion in the salad, so it's doing double duty today. Alright. I'll hang on to that just in case. So, You can see that. This is going to be baking in a 200 centigrade, well, between 180 to 200 degrees Celsius, which is around 396 Fahrenheit. And given the fact that I'm having the dough amount, the recipe says bake it for like 40 minutes or something like that. Because I'm having it and it's going to end up being a bit thinner, we'll check it at around the 20-minute mark is kind of what I'm aiming for. But I should really get the oven preheated, so I'm going to go turn that on. Alright, so for the onions and the tomatoes, tomatoes I'm not going to do into wedges, I'm actually going to do into like rounds. And the onions, thickness-wise, I'm thinking I don't need giant pieces because I want them to actually soften in the time that they're in the oven. So thinking about that, maybe 3/16 of an inch, 2 mil, perhaps. Make them semi-thick. Well, we can always mix them up.
Let's get weird, folks. Come on.
So we have a couple of different thicknesses in there. And I'll do a little bit more. There we go. Just want to get these broken up a little bit. Okay. And as for the tomatoes, now I will admit, I'm not the biggest of fans of fresh tomatoes on pizza. The reason for that is because, I mean, you can see all that juice there on the board. That juice leaches out over the pizza, which then in turn tends to make it soggy, at least on the traditional, you know, I would say like New York style pizza or something like that. It's a little bit thinner, and so it's a faster, higher heat. Personal preference, that's just all. So, got those. And we'll do about one more, I think, out of this. There we go. Dough's coming together pretty nicely. And there we go. Alright, tomatoes and onions in there. But I'm not going to get rid of those because, well, we're going to be making a salad. So I might as well eat what I got here. What with food prices being what they are. We'll do a little bit more on it. That works. Okay. $40 on that. Nice. Alright, let's hit this with a bit of olive oil. Okay. Right oregano in there. There's our dough. So I know I've got my my big old reusable gloves that I use for, you know, working with meat and things like that. I happened to be at a restaurant supply place today, and they had these powderless vinyl gloves for food service type stuff. Box of them for like $3. And I thought, you know what? I cannot pass this up. It is an excellent deal, especially for you know, kind of stuff that I do. Don't forget that they were cooking in the traditional oven with wood. If you cook it there, you don't have to worry about the juice of the tomato. It's completely dry, guaranteed. Yeah, no, I completely understand what you're saying there, Maria. That they're cooking in a high heat oven, and so it goes way quicker, and the moisture evaporates significantly faster. So if I had myself, you know, one of those nifty wood-fired ovens that run at like 700-800 degrees Fahrenheit, then I would totally, you know, totally do that. And of course, I dropped the book. That's it. Okay. Dough off the hook. Okay. Leave that off to the side for a minute. Let me move this so we can see what we're working with. So here's what our dough looks like. And it's on the stickier side. So before I start working with it, a little bit of oil on the gloves. Okay. A little bit of oil on top. There we go. And there we go. How are we doing so far, Maria? How's that looking? It's looking pretty smooth. It is definitely on the sticky side, which I don't quite recall if that was the nature of the dough in the video. Just because I don't remember paying attention to that particular aspect, but it looks good. Okay, cool. So let's get this covered. So, all right. Dough all covered, ready to go. Let's see. Has to stay to rest and raise. Yes. I'm gonna turn off the water now. Okay. Because this is a yeast risen dough, you want to leave this either in like a warm spot in your home. For the imperial temperature type folks, ideally you're looking for a temperature above 75 to around 100 Fahrenheit in terms of possibly needs a bit more flour. Okay. But that temperature range would be ideal for letting this rest and raise. Now, the recipe calls for about 2 hours on this, okay? And right now, because it's been as hot as it's been, our AC has been going. And the temperature throughout the house is around 72. However, outside right now, it's currently about 85 Fahrenheit, which is fantastic for letting this rise. So I'm going to go take this outside, and I will be back in just a moment, and you can check out my new BRB screen. And we're back. Wish it was 85 where I was. Oh, man. No, our AC is actually doing just fine, Ladenia. Yeah, no, it's good. We're all good to go. Thankfully, oh gosh, humidity, I bet that's brutal. When we moved here, one of the requirements that we had was that the home had to have central air, specifically because Mrs. Hueso's mom had some severe breathing issues, and if it was too humid, she would not be able to breathe very well. She was on oxygen for the last, I don't know, about 5 or 6 years of her life. Oven's ready. So we needed to have central air specifically so then that way it would take the humidity out of the air for her, because she had COPD from years of smoking. So. Anyways, through the magic of streaming, we've got dough. I made this batch a couple of hours ago. That's how I knew that the yeast was actually working. But here we go. A nicely risen, bubbly, yeasty dough. So this is looking really good. We'll just need to kind of beat it down a little bit, maybe hit it with a little bit of additional flour just so it's workable. And then my plan is to bake them basically make two, one in each of these, because I got two foiled up and ready to go, and that'll be our pizzas. However, thought just occurred to me that there's not a whole lot of protein going on with this particular meal, so I should probably make some kind of protein to go with this. And it just so happens, and this is a genuine, it just so happens, I've got I had a pack of chicken thighs that I only used half of them, and so I have these other 5 here. Put a protein bar in it. Oh gosh, that sounds truly dreadful. A protein bar on a pizza. Ugh. So I've trimmed these up already. I've taken off the additional fat, although I like to leave the little flap of skin on the thighs, because those tend to turn into like a little chicken chicharron, which I'm a big fan of. So I figured, you know what? Let's roast these up, so then that way we've got some additional protein to go along with the rest of the meal. So I've got my seasoned salt that I make that I'll hit it with. There we go. And then in here I've got I was wanting to do more of an herb chicken, so I've got granulated garlic, I've got powdered rosemary, thyme, and parsley, along with black pepper in here. And so this is going to provide the other flavorings. And then I have some lemon that will squeeze over it at the very end. So it's just kind of a nice herby, lemony chicken. I was, however, warned recently that the last time I did kind of a lemony chicken or whatever, that the lemon was really strong. And so I was asked to be careful when I do that. You don't want to touch the chicken skin just yet. There we go. Okay. Living in a swamp will make the humidity worse, and the entire mid-Atlantic is one giant swamp. True. I wouldn't want my lemon chicken to not taste like lemon. This is, yeah, you know, you're absolutely right, Zodic. To be honest, it's one of those things that it's a fine line between just right and too much. And sometimes it can be really difficult to judge the difference on that. Because sometimes you just don't know how strong the lemon is. Sometimes it's a weak lemon that doesn't have a whole lot of an acidic punch to it. Sometimes it's super acidic. But what can you do? Alright, so I'm going to go put these in the oven since they're going to bake for about, at the temp that I have it at, I'm going to say 35 to 45 minutes. And then we will get to work on assembling the pizzas, so then we can get those in the oven. So let's... Toppings for pizza number 1, just about done. We need salt and pepper. That's just kosher salt. Okay. You gotta keep them separated. There. I want all that stuff all over all the things. Smells good. Okay. That topping is ready to go. So I will put that off to the side. Hey, little puppy. Uh-oh. Alright. Just got some pepperoni from the deli counter. Thing of Moz. And then this was the marinara sauce that I made last night. And in it, it's dead simple. 28 ounces of ground tomatoes, about half of an onion finely minced. I did about the same volume in mushrooms that I also kind of finely minced up, and then added, I don't know, about half a dozen plus cloves of garlic that was also finely minced. About a quarter cup of olive oil, sauteed up the onions and mushrooms till they were kind of nice and soft, threw in the garlic, got that mixed up, and when the garlic was nice and fragrant, that's when I added the tomatoes. And then to it, I added dried oregano and basil. And then simmered it for about 30 minutes. And that's it. tasted it. Didn't need any additional salt, in my opinion. There are some people that like to add sugar, depending on how strong the tomatoes were, but this came out just great. And it's a super easy, very basic marinara sauce recipe. So you're good to go. It's the oil and the juices of the tomato. Yeah, totally. Oh, Ladenia means oily. Ah. I did not know that. Let's see. I was on the practice pad during the first 25 minutes of stream, so I might have missed that part. Oh, you're just fine. Accidental chaos. No worries. I did not know that Ladenia means oily. I did not realize that. Mostly because I'm not Greek. And, I'm just kind of... This is what it's called. I did not know that the word had a specific meaning to it. So... But there you go. Yeah, the tomato juices, the olive oil, juices especially from, salting the tomatoes and everything. So that'll be really, really tasty. And then, yeah, it's just some dried oregano. And there you go. So I just need to grate up some of this mozz. And this will be ready to go. And then that way... it is way too close to your name. But do you pronounce the... Okay, but here's the question. Is the D in your name a hard D, or is it like the Spanish D, which is pronounced kind of like a TH? So instead of Ladintha, it's Ladintha. So there you go. Oh man. We thought that the audit at Mrs. Hueso's job was over and done with. They thought that, they'd given them all the documentation, that everything was fine, and they thought they were finally done. While she was out, apparently the auditors came back with wanting some additional information. And it's just like, are you kidding me? Okay, it is a hard E, so Ladintha. Okay, phrasing. Yes, phrasing indeed. Thank you, Harponen. Apparently these IKEA cheese grater container thingies have been discontinued, which is kind of a bummer because they're super useful and we're big fans of them. And I know I'm like doing this at an angle and it's just like, well, why wouldn't you just do it flat? It's just, I don't know, it's more comfortable for me to grate like this. Oh. That should be sufficient for our needs. Okay. Save the other half of the cheese for the other pizzas that we're going to end up making because the dough's outside rising and doing their things. People usually pronounce my name closer to the pizza. So more like La Finta. That is done. That's good to go. I need a spoon for this. And I think we are ready to start with playing with the dough. Okay. Or Ladinthia. Oh, okay. Yeah, I can see that. I can see the natural tendency to want to add in thea as opposed to just the. I get that. About the dough outside, you can make bagels with cheese. Oh, that's a good point. So okay. Maria sent me a video specifically kind of making this dough, but turning them into bagels with feta inside. The one ingredient that's in that dough recipe that I didn't add to this particular dough is tahini, because the bagels end up being dunked in, I believe, a sugar water, then into raw sunflower seeds before being baked. Yeah, they look super good. So I'm gonna probably, okay, maybe I'll make like half of it into pizza, half of it into bagels. I don't know, we'll see. Fed and I are not good friends. Are you excellent friends, Conan? Okay, so now here's the $64,000 question for Maria. At this point in time, is it looking like tahini's not necessary to make bagels with pizza dough? Okay, cool. Good to know, because tahini is stupid expensive right now. Oh my gosh. I was looking for tahini for something recently, and a small jar of it was like $7, which is insane. But here we are. Okay, so Maria, this dough, based off of what you see here on the other side of the world, are you thinking I'm going to need to add a little bit of additional flour in order to dry it out? Or am I good to just kind of separate it in half and spread it out? Because at this point in the instructions, it's a little iffy. I'm just curious. I got my pans here. Of course you need flour. Okay. Thought I'd double check. Okay. Not much. Yeah, okay. That being the case, what did I do? Like, I got this instead. This will work beautifully. Yeah, like that. Okay. So it don't stick. Okay, inflate it a bit. Let's flip over to this real quick. Blah 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 blah. Olive oils. Da, da, da. Okay. All that blah 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 was me just skimming through the instructions really quickly. Because the instructions just say to oil up your pan or whatever. Because the woman in the video, she does it in a round pan and puts it all in. But this isn't going to be quite as big. This is a Korean rice paddle, by the way. Although it might be Japanese. I picked it up at a Korean home goods store. It's fantastic for this kind of thing. So, okay, let's spread all the oil. I'm also using non-stick foil. Insurance, I guess. Alright, so down the middle. Come on. Gimme. There we go. Okay. That one in there. That one was considerably larger. Yeah. Okay, so mush it into here. I'm starting to think maybe I overestimated how much dough this made. I'm thinking we should probably let the dough relax for a little bit before baking it, because it is super springy, but I would imagine it's probably also kind of supposed to be like that. It'll raise a bit in the pan. Yeah, I figured as much. Let it rest, pull it again. Okay. Use baking paper. Yeah, I've got parchment paper too, but I have the non-stick foil, so I figured I might as well use it. Okay, so in the meantime, let's let this hang out for a little bit, kind of rest. And that being the case, back to the salad. Okay. So I've got another tomato that I'll chop up. Got some green bell pepper. And I think feta capers. Excellent. Okay, so I'm just chunking up the tomato, but I like to, if I'm working with whole tomatoes, I mean, you all have seen me work with cherry tomatoes quite a bit, because those are usually the ones that have the best flavor around here. But if I'm working with chunks like this, I'll quarter them and then cut out the core, which hopefully you can still see it, before cutting into wedges and then cutting it up. Honestly, it's however you want it. It doesn't matter too much. Then we'll cut up some green bell pepper. I got some romaine lettuce. I'm thinking I should wash and add to this. Maybe a little bit more. Modern version of Greek pizza has feta cheese and olives on top. Okay, yeah. I got enough feta. I could totally add it to the top of this. I do not have any olives. I'm also not a fan of olives, but that's just my own personal preference. If you like olives, then please add olives. Not gonna hurt my feelings. And let's. There we go. Oh, we should totally add some cucumber. Here whining. I'm starting to think maybe Mrs. Hueso isn't coming. That was way off. Oh well. That's how you know you're cooking in real time. Now the romaine. Dough is chilling. So I think as soon as we get done with romaine, I think we're going to be okay to assemble the pizzas and get them in the oven. So that is the plan. Depends on the olives. Some of them are really yuck. Some of them are impossible to stop eating them. See, here's the thing, Maria, is that when I used to work at Whole Foods Market, my job there in the specialty department was working at the cheese counter, and part of what we did was maintain the olive bar. And so I had access to a lot of really high quality olives, a whole bunch of different varieties, and I was able to try them. Now, I've not been a big fan of olives leading up to this. However, I was open to the idea that, you know, my taste buds changed. I mean, I used to hate mushrooms. That's no longer the case. There's a number of things that I wasn't a big fan of when I was younger, but I really love now. Oysters, for instance, was something that I just could not, for the life of me, for the longest time, but I liked them. Olives, however, I had tried them multiple times throughout my life, never a fan, but decided, you know, especially because I was working there with the olive bar and everything else, that I would take every opportunity that I could to sample the olives, because that was part of my job, was knowing what these were like. I did not find a single olive that I cared for. Just couldn't do it. I mean, I don't bemoan them. I don't know. Can't do them. Little itty bitty ones here. Some of these larger ones, however, feels like I'm baptizing the trash can by doing that. Alright, down the middle. Thought Mrs. Weiss wasn't coming, but apparently I was wrong. Unless she's talking to somebody out front. Which is not unheard of. It doesn't happen too often. All these are nice and small, sometimes. Okay. Let's do about that much. This I'm going to reserve for the top of that one piece. Break this. Okay. Good. Hang on to that. Okay. I think we are ready to do some assembly. Hey, Windier, what's going on? Doing all right. We're doing all right. We are making Ladenia, which apparently means oily. I did not know. But it is a Greek dough that gets turned into pizza as well as bagels. And we're making a salad because vegetation is important. And I got some chicken thighs in the oven because I was thinking, you know, we really need some more protein besides just a couple of slices of pepperoni. So that is Ladenia. Not Ladenia. No. Not Ladenia. Okay. Let me throw on a pair of these vinyl gloves. And we will get to work. Only problem with these not being powdered or anything like that is you just got to be careful with putting them on because they do tear pretty dang easily. But for my particular purposes, this is, yeah, see? What did I say? But that's fine. Alright, let's do the traditional one first. That out of the way. Alright. So this topping has been sitting here for a while. Good to go. So let's spread it out, make it look kind of pretty. Because we do eat with our eyes. Onion spread on this. Not just one section. Got a couple of leftovers, so something for the chef. I'm a cook, not a chef though. Okay. I really like the way that looks. This should do very nicely. Okay. Nothing wrong with a little extra meat. This is true. I am living proof of that. Okay. Spread this one out a little bit more. Okay. Excellent. So let's bust out some marinara from last night. I don't want a super thick layer. I do want to put it to the edge. I will say I was recently reading about Detroit style pizza. I knew that it existed, I just didn't quite understand what it was. And it's interesting because it appears that a traditional Detroit style pizza is built slightly in reverse, meaning that even though the dough is, still on the bottom, obviously, for the crust and everything, but on top of it goes the cheese, then the other toppings, and then it's topped with the sauce, which is interesting, but it sounds really good. And it uses a something called block cheese, which I wasn't familiar with, but apparently it's very much a Wisconsin thing. It's very Wisconsin, and it sounds like a somewhat mild to strong flavored cheese that it just sounds good. I'm like, oh, I'd love to get a hold of some, but I don't think I've ever seen it in the markets around here. Hey, Mrs. Waso's alive.
Oh, I missed you.
I was getting a little worried.
I know, I should have texted.
Well, even if you did text, it's not like I could have read it.
That's true. Also true, I could have loved him. I got roped into a project.
No!
I'm excited for the pizza though.
Yeah, so far so good.
Looks good.
Yeah.
How is everyone? I see all the good peoples are here.
Yeah. Sauce goes between the cheese and the dough.
That's how we did it.
No. But at least Harkonnen, in the Detroit style, from what I was reading, sauce goes on top.
Oh. On top of the cheese?
On the top of everything.
Do you need me to open that?
It's being disagreeable.
You're wearing gloves.
I am wearing gloves.
Oh.
I told you.
You told me.
We're gonna have to put this in a different bag again.
I'm gonna take 2 and try them.
Okay.
I'm gonna sample up.
Better quality check them just to make sure.
No.
Because it could be poison.
That's the poison. So far so good. I'm still alive.
Okay. So it could just be a slow acting poison.
Could be. We'll die together. That's all that matters.
Sounds like a plan. Okay. That's good to go. And that is... Well, they can't do the same like they do in Chicago. No. Second one here is his own interpretation of the then thing. Okay, let's check that chicken real quick. Ugh. There it is. I disagree with that being how they make it. Pizza sauce should be in between the cheese and the dough. Makes too much mess otherwise. Alright, I'm thinking we'll hit these with some lemon and then give them about 5 more minutes. Then we'll do 20 minutes on the pizza. People have very strong opinions when it comes to pizza. And I know myself personally, I'm not a fan of the Chicago style. Personally, I feel that it's more of a casserole than a pizza. But that's just like my opinion. Leave this out for the salad. But like I said, that's just my own personal fan. I'm a New York City style, ride or die kind of thing. But if it's served to me, I will eat it. Okay, 5 minutes on the clock for that. Let's chunk up this feta and get it on top of the pizza. I know I'm chopping this off camera. Okay. And the rest of the sound. Okay. Pizza a la me. That is correct. Okay. We're going to put these in the oven. It's currently preheated to convection 375 Fahrenheit. I've got a timer set for 20 minutes. We'll check them at that point, rotate them, do whatever we got to do. But that is where we're currently at. 20 minutes? What? It's not for, fresh dough. Well, fresh dough and at this temperature. Because if it were like a traditional wood-fired ovens of Greece, then they would be running at like 700-800 degrees Fahrenheit, which would mean that they would be done significantly quicker. That's just kind of how it goes here. So, yes, Mrs. Hueso is home. Okay. Other tomato bit. Let's get this stuff put away. Need that, need that, need that. That can go away. That needs to go in a different baggie. Oh! Mr. G Money, what is up? Welcome, welcome, sir. Thank you so much for the resub. It is much appreciated. If you don't know who Mr. G Money is, shame on you. He is a king amongst men, a gentleman on a road of self-improvement and discovery and mastery that has been on a mental and physical wellness journey as of this last year, and has done some truly amazing things, and has recently started streaming in the morning, not only working out, but almost like a morning meditation and listening to podcasts to help people conquer their bad habits, I guess, is really sort of the way to put it. Hey, Lumpy Pickle's here. But basically self-mastery and self-improvement. And it's been good. It's been good. Today's podcast was kind of interesting. One of the topics that came up was talking about going outside and delaying, in the event that you're a caffeine drinker, delaying your caffeine intake first thing in the morning for between like 90 to 120 minutes, which was just like, that's interesting. But he was also talking about the importance of within like the first hour of the day, getting outside and getting some sun to get you going. So really interesting stuff. Okay. Oh. So, for Mr. Lumpy Pickle, it's Ladenia. Ladenia. The D is pronounced like a TH. It is a Greek yeast risen dough that is used for things like pizzas as well as making bagels. We mixed up a batch of dough, which is currently outside raising, and the batch that I made earlier is what we use to make the pizzas and stuff. So it is Andrew Huberman. Okay, that's it. That's the gentleman that that was on this morning. But oh yeah, by the way, he plays guitar and he's pretty good at it. He's all right. Yeah. So yeah, he does that too, and he's a dad extraordinaire. An overall awesome human being. So thank you so much for being here today. In fact, honestly, he's part of the reason why I'm even doing all of this. If it weren't for him and encouragement from some other folks, I wouldn't be doing this kind of thing and having the fun that I'm having. So thank you kindly, sir. But so at the moment, we're just finishing up the salad here, which I don't know. Maria can kind of chime in on this, but kind of when you think of like the Greek salad, it's usually like tomatoes, red onions, green peppers. There'll be feta cheese in there. A lot of times Kalamata olives. Sometimes capers, which I'm going to be throwing capers in here. I threw in some romaine lettuce because I got it, and I got to drain some capers to put them in here, and then we'll hit it with a little bit of lemon juice, some olive oil, and some red wine vinegar, a little salt and pepper. And we'll kind of taste it and kind of see where we're at with that, because the pizzas are in the oven. They're doing their thing. The chicken is out because we needed some extra protein because there's not a whole heck of a lot. And that is where we're at. Yeah, well, see, that's the thing, Lumpy Pickle, is like, I personally am not an olive person, which is why I don't have any olives in here. But it is super traditional. Yes, Maria speaks the truth about the bagels. So the water with sugar dissolved in it acts a bit like brushing dough with like an egg wash in terms of helping it brown. Traditionally, when you think of like like a New York style bagel, the dough is usually boiled in a lye solution. Not like sort of like, it's an alkaline salt that kind of toughens up the dough and helps it brown when it's baked. In this case, it's sugar and water. So, but interestingly enough, the recipe that Maria sent me it has feta cheese in the middle of it, but then it's dunked in sesame seeds, which sounds awesome. And then it gets turned to all sorts of fun shapes, by the way. It depends on where in Greece you are. In Laconia, Greece, the area near Sparta, where they kick you in the hole, they even put orange in the lettuce salad. Okay, I can see that. So I gotta work on stuff first. Oh, right on, Accidental Chaos. Have fun, buddy. That's awesome. Yeah, we've not had the opportunity to play D&D in a very long time. We were involved in a campaign with some friends of ours, and at one point our party was, how many of us were there? There was, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7. I think there was like 9 people total. That was when the brothers were doing it, and then they got me into it. Yes. The 2 brothers, the one of which we were friends with, and they dropped us like a ton of bricks. like, oh, those brothers.
Well, I was thinking the brothers were DMing.
Well, they did. They weren't doing it together. They were like tag teaming. Oh, right on, dude. I'm gonna take a wild guess and say Grant is making himself a steak. This is purely based off of things that he has said previously. I made an ice cream cake? Who made an ice cream cake? I didn't I spent all day cooking for my daughter's birthday on Saturday. She can make her own ice cream cake, so that... Oh, okay. Wrong. G-Money, are you feeling okay? You're not eating a steak? Chicken breast. Sorry. I kid only because he's been 2 steaks that he had. Oh, okay, yeah. Okay. Yeah, you gotta switch it up. You can't... One cannot live on steak alone. That's how one gets... That's how you get gout. Eat grapes with this meal instead of a salad. Okay.
Other problems.
That's how you... Yeah, that is how you have other problems.
High cholesterol.
So there you go. Alright, let's... For anybody who's wondering, this is some totally Greek olive oil. Picked it up on sale. Barbecue chicken. Oh, nice. Grilled asparagus, some sidekicks, because the kid's like, oh, right on. Sidekicks, I'm guessing, are like potato wedges or tater tots, something to that effect. Actually, with this much lemon juice, I don't think I need to add any red wine vinegar. I'm gonna taste it.
The other day you made something with lemon and it was like, whoa!
I told everybody about that. That I had to be careful with how much lemon I put on it because you made a comment specifically about how strong the lemon was. Little too lemony. Because I like black pepper. We'll get out our super cute little strainer so we can strain out the capers. Talking about food non-stop. This is true. And Maria, you know I'm okay with you talking about food non-stop. Okay. Capers in. Okay. Give that a quick taste test. That's not very lemony at all. Yeah, come try it. Spanakopita.
I was texted by the neighbor.
Oh, okay. Pasta dish.
Street where it's the neighborhood ice cream association thing.
Oh, is that? Oh, that is tonight.
Yeah, I forgot.
Oh,
I
is that?
totally forgot.
I did totally forget too.
That was fantastic.
Right?
What are you gonna eat?
Ha ha. I got chicken and a couple of pizzas. Ice cream cake sounds fun, actually. But yeah, assembling an ice cream cake, it's a lot of work because you gotta spread it all out, freeze it, bake your cake, probably freeze that too, assemble it, freeze it again.
I think you should make one. Hey, Grant! I hear you're coming down this way.
That's the rumor, at least.
I heard a rumor. You're coming to Portland area.
And then, interestingly enough, the ads came out today, and USDA prime grade tri-tip is going on sale tomorrow. So I'm like, oh, I might need to pick me up a couple of them in the event that
Say somebody came by
and, needed beef as a protein. Just in case. Just saying. Yeah.
You might have some people coming.
Yeah, people might be coming. So.
We will feed you well.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, Saturday night. That, yeah, absolutely. Saturday night I think is carved out for hitting up the Hot Sauce Expo, where we'll get to meet.
Are we going to that?
Yeah, because we're gonna get to meet the Spice Lord himself.
Yay!
He will be there. So that'll be good. And yeah, it'll be
Okay.
Good times will be had by all.
Huzzah! And we will break bread together.
Break bread and meat.
And eat meat.
And of course,
those that are coming to the house that weekend, it was really funny. It's like, what do you want to eat? Because we can do anything, and the answer was meat.
Literally, that was the answer. Meat.
Okay.
One word.
We got your back.
Like, okay. Meat feast it is.
Good game. This is amazing, and I just want to eat it all.
Yeah, when I went to the restaurant supply place, amongst other things, I was in the big walk-in meat cooler looking at what they had, and it's like, okay, this would be good, and just to have a variety of meats, of course. Full-blown Brazilian steakhouse.
Well, I bet the freezer's got some good.
The freezer does have a few choice items, but I think we could improve upon its variety, I should say.
Wow.
Yeah, Harkonnen, in a Churrascaria, I've got a picanha in the freezer right now. Funny story about picanha, by the way. There's a market that I go to here in town that regularly has them. Not like all the time, but they have them with frequency. So it's like every time I go there, I check. They had a couple in the case, and I'm looking at them, and there's one of them that I'm looking at, and it was labeled brisket, as opposed to what it's typically labeled as is a top sirloin, something or other. Forget exactly how they have it labeled, which I thought was strange. And then, but I'm looking at it, and I'm like, this looks like, a picanha, so I pick it up, bring it home. The other night, I'm like going to make it, and I pull it out of the package, and I'm looking at it closely, and I'm like, this is actually looking like a brisket point, or the flat. I'm sorry, the brisket flat, not the point. The point is the fatty end. The flat has really long grain and cooks differently. But I cut it up like it normally did, cooked it like it normally did. After it came out of the sous vide, it was nice and tender. Then I went to finish it off, and it's like, yeah, this is not picanha. It was in fact brisket. I was very much wrong. So I've got this leftover brisket, which was treated like a picanha, that I need to figure out what to do with. I'm kind of thinking about putting it into a stew and letting it go low and slow for a while, or just throwing it into the Instant Pot for half hour, 45 minutes, and that should tenderize it up really nice. Consequently, I forgot to set the timer for the pizzas. I should check. Well, let me rephrase. I set the timer for 20 minutes. However, I forgot to hit start. That's playing my button. Oh, it's looking good so far. Smelling really good. Alright, let's rotate them. I'm gonna put 7 minutes on the clock. So they're looking really good, but they're not looking 100% as of yet. Oh. So some of y'all may have noticed that pizza. Let's do... We got a Spam one now. And... Oh, here's... Noodles. And... Lumpy Pickle will like this one. Musubi. Mrs. Hueso will appreciate this one. Waffles. And... because I had to. Mayo. Of course I grabbed the Heinz Real one. That's our favorite mayo that we just can't get anymore. But yes, mayo indeed. I've been busy. I have not been sitting idle while I've been away from streaming for the minute.
Just your wife.
Just my wife has been doing nothing. No, that's not true.
I've been healing.
You've been healing. And she went back to keto for the first time last night.
Woo!
So that's awesome.
That is very awesome. I am very happy about that.
She's also very sore.
No, actually, I'm not.
You were? I thought you last night when you got here, you were like, "Oh, kill me now."
Well, I was exhausted.
Oh, that too.
Keto's no joke. Like, to go from, wow, I haven't exercised in a while, to keto. I was tired. I'm not sore. I'll probably be sore tomorrow. But I'm going to go again on Thursdays. Monday, Thursday is going to be keto. Keto nights. Very happy about that. I got to practice my rolling. It's, yeah. As you get older, rolling on the ground is not easy. But
it is true. Decided to tickle my throat. But yeah, did that, and oh yeah, you'll notice the logo change. Let's see what else happened.
This stuff's all dirty.
Yeah, that's ready to go. The stuff in the dishwasher is clean.
Oh.
So.
I ran it.
I unloaded it and ran it again.
Because your wife loves you.
Because she does love me. Oh, I will say, one of the things that I've done is, because I'm getting ready to mix up fresh batches of some of my saltless seasonings.
He wanted to send some home with our guests.
It's true, I wanted to send some home with the guests. And anyways, I thought, hey, what if I tried making my own onion powder? And so... yesterday, I really thinly sliced a bunch of onions and laid them out on a tray and stuck them in a 170-degree Fahrenheit oven for a very long time. And this was the result, which came out really, really nicely, and I'm very happy about that. There was a second tray of them, which did not come out quite as nicely. That was purely human error on my part. The dried onions these are for They're going to be going into a special batch of butt glitter, a special batch of pixie dust, a special batch of my saltless taco seasoning, and the new barbecue rub. So this is part of it, and this is going to be kind of like a toasted onion, and then I have other onion powder that I'll be adding to it. I've also got some very special chili powders, or powdered chilies, I should say, in the mail that I'm very, very happy about, because I've had them before. I enjoy them greatly, and they will make a very nice addition to these. So, I remember he was surprised when I told him I used the same dough for pizza, bagels, and bread. Yes, this is very true. I was very surprised. But after having watched a number of videos, I'm looking forward to turning part of this batch of dough that is currently outside into bagels. I think that will be yummy and delicious. So I'm looking forward to that. I burnt microwave popcorn in our private room last week that is basically no ventilation. Oh, I know that smell. That is not a happy smell. That is no bueno. Ugh. I'm gonna go grab the dough from outside, because it's been out there for... Mrs. Weiso's gonna run outside and go grab the dough.
Well, it's just right here.
It is right there. It's just on the table. Puppy's like, oh, something's going on. It's probably not noticeable in that mayo stinger that the number up top is 69 ounces.
Look at the dough.
Oh!
That's awesome.
Let's switch. So if you can see, we got
There's a little bit of gas in there.
There's a little bit of gas.
The bread's got gas.
Yeah. Let's burp it.
Aww.
Yeah.
So now we can make bagels.
Now we can make bagels. That's looking nice. See all that? See that bubble lacy structure? It's yeasty.
It does.
It's a good yeasty. More exploding food. Yeah. That ice cream, man. That was funny.
That was awesome.
It was. It was hilarious. Ooh. Can't ignore the 69 reference. Of course. I had to put it on there. I had to. Okay. Okay. Nice. Leave that dough out in the dumpster, a la the infamous photo, and see what happens. Okay. Conan, remind me to tell you about that, because there's a little bit of a story that goes along with it. It is a lot of work. I've capped campaigns. I DM to 6. Even that is too much sometimes. Yeah, I know what you mean. A 9-player D&D campaign sounds like a lot of work. It was. That's the only problem with really large groups, is that turns can take a really long time, and trying to keep everything straight, especially for new DMs, is really tough. Even for an experienced DM, it's difficult. Oh, really? That should be changed back to that one. Okay. Yeah. Keeping track of the initiative table of combat sucks in parties. Oh, yeah. Yeah, I mean, we had a dry erase board that we were able to write everything on, but still. And then if people held actions and, you know, anyways. Boom. Beauty shots. Looks good. Smells really good. And then there's our other one. Okay. Oh, we got chicken too. Hey, Echoes of Ashes! What is going on? I'm infamous for holding actions when I play Barbarian, sometimes as a sorcerer. I get that. Over there. Boom. Chicken. Okay. Let's get something to cut this pizza. What is up? Yes, pizza indeed. Really, though, what I should do let's move that. And since these are going to be hot, hot, hot. Bring back the board. A non-slip mat there. Okay. Cool pizza cutter, huh? And it's got the flip and guard. Comes apart really easily to wash and everything. I'm a fan. Okay. Toasted feta. What?
The pub restaurant that was reviewed by
Really? Dang. Okay. Let's see what our handiwork is. Oh, we've got... Yeah. Looking good. Yeah, you can see the crumb structure way better from there. Nice. Okay, let's try this one. This is, oh man. With the way that this is looking, this is reminding me of French bread pizza. Like the Stouffer's French bread pizza. But the interior looks really good. Nice. Okay. I'm just gonna do a small piece of that one. Yeah, check that out. You got some good bubbles, some good rise. Can you see why Ladenia doesn't need sauce because of the tomato? Yeah, totally. Dude, I am very stoked to eat this pizza. G-Money. Seriously. How does it look, Maria? Dough look good? Mmm. That's really nice. Woo! You're saying Ladenia? No, not the person. Mmm. That's got a really, it's got a tangy flavor to it. I'm digging on it. But it's really nice and soft and pillowy. It's good. Okay. Want to try the traditional one. With the tomato. I think this one's the winner. I mean, granted, I only had a small piece of that, but tons of flavor in this. This is super good. And it's not, I mean, the top is a little bit soggy, like I knew it would be because of the fresh tomatoes and kind of all that juice and everything. But, man, it's got a good flavor to it. Mmm. Yeah, Ladenia, this recipe is easy. I mean, you saw me. The dough came together super easy. Oh, check this out. You saw how I resealed the bowl? Puffed up again. Ladenia. Mmm. Tastes friggin' awesome. I can see how having a good amount of olive oil in the bottom of the pan would make the bottom crust really, really nice. Also, the importance of using a good quality olive oil, or at least one that's got a good flavor that you like. Since there's a whole bunch of different varietals that are used for making olive oil in Greece and Spain and basically anywhere they produce olive oil. And every one of the varietals has a slightly different flavor to it. So depending on whether or not you're looking for something a little bit more vegetal or peppery or what exactly, that will determine kind of the final sort of flavor a little bit. I think like don't crucify me here, but I think like a Spanish Arabiquina varietal olive oil that's on the peppery side would be really, really good with this. Have a good one, G-Money. Thanks for coming and hanging out. Enjoy your dinner. And we'll see you tomorrow. Oh, the exploding dough. Yeah, so Harkonnen, here's the thing. That infamous picture of the dough, like, coming out of the dumpster. The whole reason why the dough was thrown away is because the person that made it forgot to add the salt. And the problem is once the dough was at that point, you couldn't just mix in the salt. It doesn't work like that. So, because chemistry. And hot day in the dumpster. The guy who made it and went and threw it away just threw the dough directly into the dumpster and closed it, not knowing, realizing how hot it was going to be. So fermentation took over and blah, blah, blah. Pizza is tasty. Let's get a bite of that chicken thigh. Just the right amount of lemon for me. I taste lemon, but it's not overpowering. Mediterranean Claymore. Yeah. Maria, the only reason why I was cautioning about using a Spanish olive oil is because obviously it was a Greek recipe, and not too certain how the people of Greece would feel about using a Spanish olive oil instead of a Greek olive oil. Yeah. That hits the spot in a big way. That is super tasty. Okay, this recipe is definitely a keeper. I'm going to probably put that dough in the fridge to kind of hang out, and I will more than likely, I don't know, maybe I'll make the bagels later tonight. I don't know, we'll see how I feel. But
the oven's still on, it's okay?
Oh yeah, go ahead and turn it off. I left the oven on.
Just in case.
No, Mediterranean oil is good. Okay. Glad to know that Spanish olive oil is acceptable. Or Mediterranean olive oil is acceptable, I'll say that. But I think it is time to go have it sit down and nosh like crazy and enjoy the bounty. Right?
That's good.
It is good.
Change our world.
I know.
Maria.
I know. I mean, this came together super easy. This is one of those things that I think, like, with just a little bit of pre-planning, could replace English muffin pizzas.
Oh, hot burger.
It is, and that's saying something, because I love me my English muffin pizzas. But I think this has the potential to potentially overtake it. I'm thinking yeah.
Wait, because you could prep the dough and then freeze it.
You could.
So, on days you want to do it quickly, you just pull it out of the freezer.
Well, I don't know if, I don't know. I need to look into it, because I think the concern is if you're freezing a yeast-risen dough, like, how it will affect...
It's not like pie crust?
No, because pie crust doesn't have a rise to it at all. That relies on steam production from the butter in the dough itself to do its thing, whereas this is, carbon dioxide reaction from the yeast.
Thanks, so.
Yes, I'm going to shove it right in my mouth hole. So.
Yeah, we should eat.
Yeah, we're gonna eat. We're gonna have to sit down. We're gonna eat, and
I have that gathering to get to.
Oh, that's right. We got to go to that neighborhood thing, because I gotta. I will talk about it Thursday, depending on the outcome of what happens at this thing, because I need to talk to some people to get some information, because if the information is good, then hooray, and if it's bad, then nothing changes and everything's fine. So
You can't bait people like that.
I can bake the dough and freeze it as a pizza base.
See?
Oh, okay. Yeah, but she's saying bake it first.
Oh, gotcha.
That's a big difference. Basically, okay, what I'm talking about is we have ISPX, okay? And ISPX is what it is. However, ISPY has a gigabit line literally running not 50 feet from here, at the back fence line. The problem is ISPY is notorious for not having good customer service, and the speeds aren't necessarily what they advertise them to be. So I'm a little leery. However, if it is as fast as they proclaim it to be, which is why I want to go to this neighborhood gathering to talk to some people to find out, hey, do you have this? What's the situation? Because if it is, it means that the streaming quality is going to be able to go up, because we'll have more bandwidth. And it'll actually cost less.
Uh-huh.
So we shall see. At any rate. Okay, let's see. Who is...
I saw Nick on earlier. I don't know if he's still...
Yeah, let's open...
That's fantastic pizza.
It is.
Radio.
Yes, thank you, Maria. Is Mr. Shreddy Boy on? Yep, Shreddy Boy is on. Alright, we're gonna go raid Shreddy Boy. And... okay, cool. Yeah, we're gonna go raid Mr. Shreddy Boy. And, let me throw in the raid message. So, yeah, we're gonna go raid Nick Miller. Amazing guitarist and bass player, all around excellent dude. So yeah, we're gonna go raid him. Give him a snack attack. So,
Snack attack.
thank you everyone for being here today. Thanks for hanging out, and we will see you all Thursday. I have an idea of what I want to do. I just got to see if I can make it happen. I'm going to leave it at that, because I don't want to say anything and then have it not happen. So, at any rate, thank you to everybody that popped in today. Thank you to AJ and G Money for the resubs, and love all you folks, and we will see you all Thursday. And let me do that, and then we will do this. See you, folks.
Hello, boys and ghouls. DK's making a snack today. What's it gonna be? What's it gonna be?